this is what it means to be in spirituality, to be in that. So you have a spiritual path. The gift, the tool in the spiritual path is to be able to create that bubble within the world of materiality, or the world of the Gashmi, the world of material, and the world of chaos. Right? That's the Arav. Parshat Shoftim, with the Ishbitzer Rebbe again. It's an interesting topic today. It's we chose a pasuk on not to destroy trees while surrounding a city under siege. It's an obscure pasuk that has lots of different ways of coming at it, and lots of different themes. One of the themes is it supports what's called Jewish environmentalism in some ways, in Baltashchit, and kind of keeping. Um, but that's not where we're going today. So,
And interestingly, because at this point, as we recall, they're about to enter into the land of Israel, and they are fully aware that they're going to be engaged in a wars of conquest to take over the land of Israel from the current inhabitants, the seven Canaanim nations. But there are going to be rules of engagement. To get to the pasuk that we're going to be dealing with today, of course, in a Hasidic slant, but just to get the Pashut Pshat, the simple meaning of this verse out, which, by the way, is actually a big controversy, what is being spoken about here, not the Baltashkas part. We learn, it says when, if you have to lay siege to a city, where you surround the city, you don't let the supplies in and out, and in that way you try to weaken the inhabitants and take them over and defeat them. When you do lay siege to the city, a Jewish army is prohibited from now. Many of the armies, if you know, if you study warfare, they would chop down all the trees to make it easier for them to deal with what's going on. But the Torah says if it's just a regular tree, you're allowed to cut it down. But if it's a fruit bearing tree, you're not allowed to cut it down. And from that one verse, we learn all the rules, which is spoken about multiple pages upon pages in the Gemara and the Talmud regarding this idea of wastefulness, as you were alluding to before.
right.
But just to sum, before we get into the pasuk itself and the Hasidic interpretation, I just want to mention for those who might be interested, uh, we the pasuk says very strange wording here. It says you shouldn't cut down the fruit bearing tree. And then it asks, seemingly rhetorically, right? Is a person like a fruit tree? In other
Right.
words, a person you might have to kill because
Yeah.
you're at war. Why should you have to kill a tree?
Yeah.
So just to, it's an odd, very odd verse actually in its structure. And of course, the Meforshim, the commentators are going wild with this. And this is a very big machlekes, very big debate between Rashi and the Ramban.
Yeah.
Should this pasuk be interpreted as a rhetorical question? Because a person is not a tree.
Right. Or literal.
Or should it be taken literally?
Right.
Yes, a person is like a tree.
Right.
And here we're going to take this verse about laying siege and cutting down the trees towards
Right.
its Hasidic destiny.
Right, exactly, which is always takes it internally, right? It's not because
Yeah,
it's not only an external, even though the external in itself is already interesting enough, as you were saying.
yeah,
But
right.
he's gonna show us how this is a metaphor. Just let people know how to access the source sheet. And here you go. You go to our website, the Hebrew Learning Circles, and then you go to Jewish Resources, and you go to down three slots to Parsha videos. Basically, that's where the source sheet is. So if you are want to have the Hebrew and the English, while we're at it, also please subscribe, like, share. We would love to have your vote of confidence and that extra layer of connection with you. And let's then jump right into the text. And it says, Ki tatsur al ir yamim rabim lilachem alea. When in your war against the city, you have to besiege it a long time in order to capture it. לתפסה, לא תשחית את עצה לנדוח עליו גרזן. You must not destroy its trees, wielding the axe against it. כי ממנו תאכל ואותו לא תכרות. You may eat of them, but you must not cut them down. And then there's a question. Adam etz hasadeh lavo b'fanecha b'matzor. If it is a question, we don't know. But here the translation is um, assigning this as a question. Are you trees of the field human to, I'm sorry, are trees of the field human to withdraw before you into the besieged city? Now, obviously, any way you translate this will be an interpretation. So, but what's interesting here, parenthetically, he's saying, and I don't, I'm actually hearing this angle on it. The people can escape into the city, but the trees can't. So, have some mercy on them. All right, here's the Ishbitzer. So he says, Al Zene'emar, it says about this, and he's going to bring another reference. He's actually going to cross-reference this verse with the verse from Psalms, Psalm 27. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei chayai. So that is really a short quote from the Psalms. It says, "I will sit in God's house all the days of my life." And what Psalm 27 talks about King David being persecuted, being maligned, being basically needing to fight for his survival with. And we know that his history was such that King Saul, he had a lot of enemies. He had to since he was little. And in the middle of that, pleading with God to protect him, he says, "All I want is to sit in your house for all of the days of my life." And and he's really looking for, and the way it's very poetic, the way he describes it is God, you protect me, but there's nothing more that I love to do than to be in your shielded by you. There's this. He talks about this as this great joy of being completely protected by God, and I think both as a request and also as a vision of what's possible. So I think it's important to put that in context because here's what the Ishbitzer says. He says, "Baitu naicha." What does it mean to be in God's house? It means to rest, to come to a resting place. Aval derech hu tirda, but to be on the way is trouble. And obviously, King David is on the way and having all this trouble. לכן התפלל דוד המלך עליו השלום, שיהיה תמיד בעיניך בלי שום טרדה. So naturally, King David was praying to be always in restfulness and not have the trouble. וזה שהזהיר כאן, שאפילו בשעת טרדה וכעס, יימצא באדם יישוב הדעת, שלא יקלקל דבר שיוכל ליהנות ממנה, אפילו הונאה קטנה. And now he's going to connect this to our verse in the Chumash. And he says, this is what is meant that that when we're being warned, that even at the time of great trouble and anger, which is war, right? This is definitely the mode that you're in during war. יימצא באדם יישוב הדעת שלא יקלקל דבר. There is inside a person, or there should be inside the person. This is the warning, or the Torah's not warning but instruction, right? Find within yourself the um, the calm of mind, or the presence of mind, not to שלא יקלקל דבר שיוכל ליהנות ממנה, not to ruin something that you can derive pleasure from or benefit from, even if it's a small benefit. Not sure why he's saying even if it's a small benefit. Why? Because the fruit is small, or I don't understand the qualification.
Well, no matter what, in other words, always try. We we as humans find ourselves besieged on a
That's life's
daily
conditions.
basis.
Yeah,
That's the way we roll. We've got external things happening, conflict. We've got internal conflict. From birth to death is we're in that state of agitation,
yeah,
and the whole trick is how a person is going to deal with that.
right.
That you either sink or swim. So that's the basic challenge of life.
Yeah.
And so he's giving us really crucial advice over here. And he's saying even the smallest, and he's not just saying how to get away with it, how to sort of deal. He's telling us how to be mahafech, how to transform even within the chaos, to find that point of settledness, to find the benefit, right? It's a very interesting perspective.
Right.
So he's adding even if it's really tiny, not
Right.
literally comparing to the fruit. The fruit is not tiny. The fruit you can be sustained by fruit, but even the tiniest benefit, don't cut it down along with everything else you're trying to cut down.
You know what I'm thinking here? That the tiny is relative. It's
Uh,
relative to war. When you're in war, things are seem so immediate and so urgently important that everything becomes minuscule by comparison.
mm,
And he's saying even if you think your mission of the moment, to conquer, to make the war, and everything looks like, I don't have time to bother. What he's saying is the Torah is telling us that we should not forget that we have the potential to have that presence of mind to do what you said, the mehapech, to not to forget that there's value in things, even if we're in a heated, right. So I think that's what he's saying here. לכן כתיב כי תיצור וגומר להילחם עליה. That's why the Torah is giving us this verse, right? Where when you lay siege on a city, um, and put to war against it, etc. Do not destroy the trees. He could have stopped there, but now he's going to go further, and he says, "Uvezesh malal Israel," and he's saying this is a special trait, it's a um, uh, special quality of the people of Israel, right? Of being a people of Israel, being in the project of which is a spiritual project. Maybe we'll come back to that later. The way I read it, anyway. Um, he's saying you're granted with this potential. Shafilu be'et ka'asam nimtza b'hem yishuv hadat. So even for the people of Israel, even at the time of their anger, they also have the presence of mind, or the calm of mind.
every word is a gem, but first of all, this ki satsor, this idea we are translating as when you lay siege to the city. Tatsor, this tsar means a constraint. It literally means a strait,
Uh, uh-huh.
a strait. And he's talking about something they speak about a lot in Chassidus called constricted katnus hadas, constricted consciousness. When a person and then he links it to anger. When a person is angry, he's not thinking straight. Everything gets narrow. There's just that single focus of what my anger is
Yeah,
focused upon.
yeah,
To the, like the horse with the blinders, I can't. But he's saying something interesting, not exactly what I said before. What I was saying before was don't be angry because you're going to push through that. What he's saying here is he's being realistic. You get angry. At the moment when you're really angry, to have a second level of consciousness functioning within the anger,
Yep.
and this is really interesting psychologically because
Yep.
this is what a lot of people don't have. It's the difference between being angry and getting into the fight, either a physical fight,
Yep.
God forbid, or the shouting match, and being angry and being able to step to
Yep.
the side of it during the anger.
Not getting consumed by your own anger.
Right. Having that little point of calmness,
Yeah.
which of logic, which can the logic can extract you,
Yeah.
and that little voice that says, "Wow, I'm really," while you're yelling, while you're being
Yeah.
angry, "Wow, I'm really angry right now. I better be careful."
Yeah.
That little voice, that
Right.
little thing, and what he's saying is that the Bnei Yisrael have the potential to have that.
That's right.
I think everybody really, if they work on themselves enough. But this is a really crucial thing, which is the difference between, going
Yeah.
off the charts and
Yeah.
being able to pull back.
Okay, so יש מעלה לישראל, Israel has a trait, שאפילו בית כעסם נמצא בהם יישוב הדעת, that even at the time of anger, they do have the potential for a calm mind. כמו שנאמר, as it says, and here brings a verse from Exodus chapter 8, verse 18, והפלאתי ביום ההוא את ארץ גושן, אשר עמי עמד עליה לבלתי היות שם Arev. I mean, just to say, to clarify, this is one of the 10 plagues.
Oh, yep, should
When
have said
right when the people are, God is sending the plagues upon the Egyptians in order to eventually free the Israelites and send them into the desert into freedom. And this is the plague of the wild animals. And what you see here, the picture I'm seeing here is that in the middle of chaos, there's this bubble of calm,
that.
right? So he's
Exactly.
describing, like he said,
Exactly.
that there's this invisible wall, this little capsule that they're in.
Right, right. And what's beautiful is he picks you could pick any, because technically speaking, I mean, as we learn in the Chumashim, the Midrashim, etc., that the plagues did not affect. None of the
Right?
plagues affected the Jewish people. Why is the Ishbitzer specifically pulling out the wild animals? So
Yep.
I hear two reasons. Number one, when a person is angry, he becomes like a wild animal. In other words, he goes by instinct. His instinct says attack,
That's right.
either verbally or physically, God forbid. And the other reason is the word for the wild animals for this plague is an interesting word, aroiv.
Yeah,
Now, aroiv means mixed up.
that's right.
Means mixed up. Actually, it's a there are different opinions. As some say it's bugs. Not everyone. We in the at the Seder night, everyone knows that kids come home with a picture of the wild wolves and tigers and everything like
Right.
that. But there's actually, what does it mean? It means a mix of destructive of animal life.
Right. Some say it's insects, but nevertheless it affects in the same way, whether it's a overwhelming mix of insects or an overwhelming attack of animals. It's
Right.
still
Right, but the key is the word used is aroy, which means mixed up. So
right.
the mixed up mind, the monkey mind, as
Yeah,
some
there you have it.
Westerners say, we're attacked. While we're attacked by
Yeah,
the monkey mind,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Jewish people can create a bubble of
Within that,
consciousness that protects them
right.
from this attack.
Right, and this is yeah, and this is I think what he's just to give it another layer. This is a gift from God, from Hashem. In other words, this is this is what it means to be in spirituality, to be in that, to be amanivchar, to be, so you have a spiritual path. The gift, the tool in the spiritual path is to be able to create that bubble within the world of materiality, or the world of the Gashmi, the world of material, and the world of chaos, right? That's the Arov. So we walk through life like that, and it comes like the Arov. It comes like the overwhelming swarms of multiple um, in the Chumash, it's animals or insects, but in our minds is this multiple, um, you could say, input, like information overwhelm, that
Yeah.
comes from whether it's, from the children, from the wife, and from the job, and from the school, and from the, and from the vendors, and from the creditors, and the debtors, and,
From the phone.
and the phone, just phone
Oh,
alone.
that's enough.
That's enough. So the metaphor, I mean, I was surprised, but you got this perfect metaphor from Shmot, of the bubble within the chaos. And here he concludes, שהשם יתברך יברר שישראל אינם רוצים רק הנקודה הטובה הנמצא בכל דבר. And it's the Holy One, blessed be, has clarified for us. I mean, I think that's the gifting. שישראל אינם רוצים, that Israel really, all Israel wants, or the person from Israel wants, is the point of goodness that is in each thing. What do you make of that conclusion? What is he saying
Yeah,
there?
well, here he's throwing some Rebbe Nachman at us. Rebbe Nachman is famous for speaking at length in the Kuti Moran about Nakuda Teva, finding the point of goodness. Everything must contain a point of goodness because everything is constantly created, was created, and is constantly being created by God. And since Teva HaTev Lahetiv, it is the nature of that which is good to do good, there cannot be
Yeah,
anything in our world that does not contain, even though it might be really hidden, and it might even be presenting itself as something that's not good
yeah,
and offline,
right,
but it must contain ultimately and essentially good
yeah,
because it's created by God who is good. So this and to search for that. Now here it's not necessarily a forbidden thing he's talking about. He's talking about the chaos of
yeah,
our life, even within. So he's been running on parallel lines here. It's not just the bubble.
yeah,
We protect ourselves by having this second layer of
yeah,
voice, to stay clear of the anger shouldn't get away from us. He's saying we should find something in that moment that we can take a positive out of it.
yeah,
That's already something else. But twice he mentioned this idea, the
yeah,
hana. He
yeah,
said hana, lahanot,
yeah,
actual benefit from the. So he's speaking here about the two traits of
yeah,
someone who's striving to be a Hasidic minded person, which is uh, the uh, the uh, subjugation of the bad trait, and then the transformation of
yeah,
that same trait into something positive. So
yeah,
he's ending on this that we were chosen and we have the ability, the capability, not only to have that to form that bubble and to strengthen that bubble, but to actually turn that scenario into a positive thing for our lives.
right, right, right. Yeah, I think it goes back to, I mean, the original pasuk where, can we see that there's a fruit to everything? It's
There's a
like
fruit to be eaten here,
yeah,
right?
that anything would be bearing fruit if we could see it.
Yeah, even while I'm at war with
Yeah,
somebody or something or myself,
yeah,
there's a fruit tree there.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
really an amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of like a more subtle version of "Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater." The thing is that the baby is not obvious, when you're at war,
Mhm.
um, or I mean, they're right. It's kind of don't destroy. You may feel justified in destroying something, but don't rush to destroy it because there may be a benefit in there. Um,
Right, right. I think this goes back now, it ties in nicely with the pasuk you brought from Tehillim, from Psalms, Shifti v'veis Hashem kol yemei chayai. And as you pointed out at the beginning, David HaMelech had the most chaotic life.
Yeah,
You can imagine if you look at the
yeah,
Navi over there, you look at the book
yeah,
of his life from top to bottom, uh, anger,
yeah,
war,
yeah,
disloyalty, unbelievable tragedies,
yeah,
one after the other. But and his shifty beves Hashem kol yemei chayai,
yeah,
all of my life, and he knew what his life was.
yeah.
Within my even my life, shifty beves Hashem, I
Right.
should find that peace of mind within myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interesting. 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 Yeah. His life is an example of that chaos. So even in
Yeah,
my life, I like what you're saying. Yeah. We should all be blessed that we can really live up to the that designation. As people of Israel, to know how to have that seeing and be able to create that bubble uh, within the conflictual state of mind. We're going to wrap it up here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you, God willing, next Wednesday. Same time, same place. Shalom for now.
Ahava Ayim Rabbi